were not a happy thing for me. I was 5'11", and I felt gawky and awkward, mostly because I was so much taller than all the boys around me. I didn't know it at the time, but I was living a metaphor that has always held women back. And that is, I was afraid of my own power, afraid that it would threaten people, intimidate people. And it's a great sadness wishing to be less than you actually are. And it's hard to take on the world when you're constantly in a battle with yourself. I worked through it. I'm working through it. But only because I had wonderful examples to follow. Women who have embraced their power and celebrated it. And they've taught me to celebrate it too. My mother was fearless. All through my childhood, I would watch her handing out pamphlets on sidewalks in Australia, advocating women's rights, objecting to discrimination, and risking arrest to do it. I won't lie to you, it was absolutely mortifying to me. But she did not waver. She fought for her beliefs. She sent me and my sister to an all-girls school because she believed that boys in co-educational schools received preferential treatment. And that was fairly mortifying too, because all I wanted to do was go to a school with boys. But I look back, and I think she was right. And as I grew, I found other mentors, other lighthouses. I was in drama school, and I met a then unknown director named Jane Campion. And even then, Jane had a voice and a vision that challenged people, frightened people. But she never toned herself down, and she never allowed her work to be less honest or less bold than it could be. And she still hasn't, by the way. I realize now that I was not quite ready for Jane back then. When I was 14, she asked me to be in her student film. It was called A Girl's Own Story. And I am horrified to report that I passed on the part she offered me. Oh, my excuse was that I had my final exams to study for. But the truth is that the part would have required me to appear on screen wearing a shower cap and kissing another girl. But I wanted to be the kind of actress that had long flowing hair and kissed boys. I was not ready to do the kind of work that would threaten anybody. Well, today I know better. And I say, Jane, if you are out there, still interested, I'm ready to don this cap and kiss any woman in the room. Right before I left drama school, I read a speech that Meryl Streep had given to Vassar's graduating class, and I think about it a lot. The speech was about pursuing excellence. I'm paraphrasing it badly, but what she said was that independent thought is rarely encouraged, that doing what is expected or popular is deeply ingrained in us. We're told, play it safe, be popular, and not just by men. I mean, I could see even then, Meryl was not that kind of actress and she was not that kind of woman. And everything that she did, she arrived at through truth and integrity. Even if it meant being inappropriate or different, even if it meant failing. She taught me a lot by reading that speech, and she still teaches me a lot. I see now that I've always been surrounded by guides on screen and off. I remember seeing Judy Davis, who did this searing work in an Australian film called My Brilliant Career, and identifying with it so strongly and so deeply. Because it made me feel less crazy, and it set a bar in terms of performance that I am still trying to hit today. I was blessed to come in contact with Gillian Armstrong, an Australian director, very early on in my career. I came in contact with the late Laura Ziskin and Amy Pascal when I was doing To Die For. They would send me emails every day encouraging me when they saw the rushes. Sherry Lansing, all of them tenacious fighters and fierce intellects. I worked with Paula Wagner a true dynamo who showed me how my character in a film called The Others could be tyrannical, domineering, controlling, things we'd all admire in a male character, without ever apologizing for it, because Paula never apologized for her power. She never apologized for having a point of view. And there are other women who have guided me, each of them a teacher in her own way. Leslie Dart, Michelle Benson, Catherine Oldham, Leslie Erdang, Wendy Day, Susan Batson, Liz Himmelstein, Lauren Bacall, open-minded, independent thinkers that have helped form me and mold me. There are also so many men who have helped me. First, my father, who believed in equal opportunity. He believed in me, and he built my inner confidence and my inner strength, and he told me I could do anything a boy could do. I'm grateful as well to the men outside of my family who have believed in my abilities, men like George Miller, Terry Hayes and Phil Noyce, the ones who took a risk on me very, very early in my career. And then Baz Luhrmann and Stephen Daldry, who believed I could do things that I felt was way out of my reach. There's also someone in this room that needs to be acknowledged for taking a huge commitment to fight for women as they age in this industry. He is involved with people like Meryl Streep, Sandy, Julianne, Sarah Jessica, yes, I can use their first names, and has fought like crazy to change the way an actress's trajectory is as she ages. Kevin Gouvet. Men like Kevin, and Kevin took me on 23 years ago, and also along now with Chris Andrews and Geyer and Pear and Alan Wertheimer, all of them who take risks on me every day and who fight to prove that you can still have a career if you're over 40 and 5'11". So much of what I believe today is because of all these wonderful teachers. And it is this. Women are too susceptible to the voice that tells us we need to be acceptable. Society tells us that we need to be less smart to get further. Unthreatening, someone who is good marriage material. Society still tells us that, feeds that to us subliminally. I read an article by Claire Shipman and Katie Kay in The Atlantic about how differently men and women are programmed. Men say, I want this, and then they set out to do it. Women say, do I want this? Don't I want this? Do I deserve this? Can I get this? What do you think? And framing things this way leads women to second guess our decisions, to ignore our own confidence, to revert to a place that we think is safe, acceptable. It is that little demon that sits on our shoulder and constantly double guesses what otherwise comes to us innately. Even with a mother who believed in me and protected me, even with all the opportunities I was afforded, I was not immune from wanting to lessen myself, to shrink, to hide. One day, you're strong, you're confident, you're independent, you think. And then, in the face of negativity, a movie fails, a role that disappears, a relationship that strikes a reef, your confidence just vanishes. That fast, like a blow to the head. Nelson Mandela said, don't dim the light. He meant, don't make yourself less. Easy to say, hard to do. I don't regret much because I try not to live that way, but the regrets I do have all circle back to the decisions I've made out of fear. A fear of my own weakness. Not a fear of my own weakness, but of my own power. So damn it. I stand here today well aware that somewhere out there is a girl of 13 or 14 who will hear these words. Let us pledge together today to be there for that girl, to support her, artistically, emotionally, financially. Let us create opportunities for her and teach her to manage that inner voice that is trying so hard every day to hold her back. Let us show her that she is strong and smart and talented, that she deserves a shot at every path that might interest her, and at equal pay too. Let us prove to her that she should go forth without shame. In short, let us do what Jane Campion's father did for her. Let us put a camera in her hands. Who knows what kind of stories we're going to get from that? The pursuit of excellence. Meryl nailed it. It's easy to be complacent, to hide behind our own fears, to shrink, to listen to that little carping voice on our shoulder instead of the truth, which is pounding within us. My friends, failure isn't shameful, but cowardice is. So let's take risks, let's raise our voices, honor the fire within, ignore our fears. In short, let's stand tall and never, ever apologize for it. The giants who preceded me on this stage have shown us the way. Let's follow. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Shower cap.